Understanding and completing the reversion. Part 1. Purpose and intent of the reversion. To make it simple, a reversion takes things that have been put into the wrong hands back and puts them in the right hands. It hinges on three precepts which are identified at Part 2.2, remaining in peace. 1. Living in peace. 2. Giving back what isn't yours. 3. Charity to your fellow man. For every man and woman, there is one identity. 1. The living or natural man. The living man has an inherent free will. It is always his choice to do or don't. He operates through natural law. Breathing, talking, hearing, seeing, eating, sleeping, waking, moving, breeding, and etc. You will notice that these do not include commerce and trade. Let me explain why. Biblically, man is warned not to enter commerce and deal with money. Because man is alive and those are dead things, hence the living man requires an agent, a straw man, to provide that barrier and protection. In ancient times, the kings understood this well, could not deal in money, and always had an agent for borrowing. This is why the Jews became known as money dealers, because as outcasts of the Christian world, they were allowed to deal in money, death. Every element of life has a duplication in death. The biblical benefits of life, free will, and love of your fellow man is counterbalanced by death, control, and hate. Yet we really truly celebrate life, but we treasure dead things like diamonds, gold, celebrities. Our living life worships death in so many capacities, and therein lies our master. Many tell me they don't have a master. That is false. We all have one. Yearn for food and hunger. Starvation is your master. Crave for flash car. That craving is your master. Covet a man or woman. Lust is your master. Thinking you're amazing. Pride is your master. React when someone disagrees with you. Anger is your master. I sincerely doubt there is any man or woman alive that does not have a master. So to understand the point of the reversion, you need to know that when the dead world of commerce holds mastership over you, you are controllable. I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but as a fact. And given money is a dead thing, a thing of no life, in a world where God gave man everything for free, then man has chosen to favor death. Despite any personal opinion on the biblical teachings, it does not teach us about our masters. When we look at all the elements of control that have been created to dominate our world, we are looking at copies of biblical principles. You, as a living child, are birthed from your mother's body. You, as a legal entity, are birthed from the mothership. God gives you a name through your parents. Government gives you a title through your parents. Government takes man's dominion and uses it to dominate all men. God offers man everything he needs for free. Government seizes that and sells it to man. I recommend listening to Marcus, the servant king, to understand the implications of the duplication and how it affects us all. So by the living entering into the dead commerce, the straw man came to exist and governments have refined it. The straw man, essentially the legal title, can be seen as an intermediary or agent between the living and the dead. Let me give you an example. Jesus was given a coin and asked whether the people should pay tax to Caesar. Tax payments indicated that Caesar was their Lord and Master. So the question was a trap, as Jesus taught that God was the only true Lord and Master. Jesus looked at the coin which carried the image of Caesar, and he asked, "Whose image is this? Whose inscription?" When they replied, "Caesar's," Jesus said, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." The testers had no answer to this and went away angry. Why? The relevant answer to us is that Caesar was a title. A living man occupied the office of Caesar, but Caesar was the straw man title between the living man and the role in commerce/death. Caesar could not claim ownership of the coin because the minerals came from the earth, which Caesar did not own, nor could Caesar ask the Jesus to worship an image because it breached the second commandment, which forbid the worship of a thing of no life. So the reply to give back to Caesar what was Caesar's essentially stated, give that dead thing back to the straw man. A natural man, therefore, cannot be a commercial man. Even Jesus had a straw man, Judas, who carried the purse and did the commercial trading. Jesus was capable of providing everything he needed. Remember the loaves and the fishes? But Judas took on that role, and his spirit was double-minded and walked in both worlds. He finally chose his ultimate master when he accepted money for betraying life. In many ways, to attempt to destroy the straw man and still act in commerce is to want to be the Judas in your world. So the reversion leaves the straw man, the legal birth certificate title alone. Now, a major benefit of the reversion is that you can act in charity to your fellow man. Why? This is a bit trickier to explain. When you act in any creative way, you generate energy, and energy produces wealth. If you are like many people, you immediately link the word wealth with opulence, luxury, large wads of money, and things. The original meaning comes from the word weal, referring to your health, hence the word commonwealth, the overall health of the common people. And the word common biblically refers to the land, so the common people were the people of the land. Therefore, unless you are made of plastic, you can proudly call yourself a common man or woman. Now, because you are deceived into acting as the straw man by using the title as who you are, the wealth generated by your energy, it is stored in the straw man's trust. Consider that carefully. You use a title that does not belong to you and accumulate wealth in its estate, and the government own and control the estate. So every time you use the title in commerce, you do so without permission and are therefore responsible for any debt claim against the straw man. How do I know that? Because you never ever get a claim debt against you, the living man. They are always sent to the legal title at the legal address and are administered, assessed, and adjudicated in admiralty law, which deals only with commerce, trade, cargo, things that have no life. So to clarify, there is a straw man, a created incorporation which you use in commerce, thinking it is yours, but have to pay for, which shows it isn't. Doesn't it make sense unless you consider this? At the registration of your birth, a commercial activity, a trust is created and the legal straw man directs the flow of energy into that trust. It becomes the legal asset for the government through every new child registered into the trust. Who owns the trust? But I believe it is created by the Commonwealth of Australia for the long-term benefit of the people. You may say, but I'm not a member of the Commonwealth. And my reply would be, yes, you are, by birthright in this country. It is therefore waiting for you to accept your inheritance and the role. Otherwise, until you do, you use the straw man without permission. Until you reach the age of maturity of 21, the trust compromising the estate and the straw man is in place, but you are still under parental guidance. But remember this, your parents have a trust too, and they use the trust straw man without permission as well. Therefore, when your parents get the proof of the legal estate, the birth certificate, and use it and identify themselves and you as the straw man, they are basically stepping back from parental guidance and placing your care in the hands of the government. Government then gives them financial benefits for acting as carers, not parents, of you. Why? Consider this, government is an image, just like Caesar. It holds no life, operates in no life. It is de facto God in many ways, and all gods require obedience and worship. Under the biblical authorization of government, a de jure governance is bound to act as the protection and trustees of the wealth of the people of their nation. When a government acts as its own God, it binds you to act for their commercial accumulation of wealth as their laborers. And in every biblical uprising, that is what had happened. So why do I think the trust is set up by the Commonwealth of Australia government, and how come the Australian government holds its power over you and I? The legal life of man is 70 years, 70. The Commonwealth of Australia was proclaimed and gazetted 1st of January 1901. So 70 years later takes us to 1st of January 1971. At the next election in 1972, Whitlam introduced the administration into the Commonwealth, and since that day, the People's Trust had been deemed abandoned. It appears that legally, the legal persona of 1901 had all died and not left their share of the Commonwealth to an heir. How do I know this? Because the Constitution was established by the people of the original states under 1. The Crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and 2. Under the Constitution hereby established. Covering Clause 2 of the Constitution states, whatever is required of the Crown in this Act will pass to Her Majesty's heirs and successors in the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. Note, that specific inheritance is a legal one, ordered in a legal document. It is not a man or a woman who are heirs and successors. It is Her Majesty's heirs and successors to a legal role in a legal role as trustee. So the clear points are these. 1. The Constitution is dissoluble, so will always exist. 2. The Crown must therefore always exist. 3. The sovereignty of the United Kingdom must therefore always exist. 4. By logic, the people therefore must always exist. 5. By equal logic, the original states must always exist. 6. And by the same logic, the Commonwealth of Australia will always exist. And what is the Commonwealth of Australia? The people who agreed to it and populated it. Now, the people are found in the preamble. There is no covering clause, no safeguard to ensure the people must devolve their share of the Commonwealth to heirs and successors, but they could not be so ordered. For the men and women, it was a free will choice. No order is given them in the Constitution because they are the voice of the Constitution. The importance is that voice is that biblically, when it was documented that God created the world, the seas, the heavens, etc., and stated verbally, "Let there be, ... The words used were always sound words, not a written word, because speaking is part of natural law and writing is part of commerce. Consider that when Jesus was confronted by the devil in the desert, Satan tried to woo him with wealth, power, and authority. Sound familiar? Jesus spoke verbally in reply and referred Satan back to the biblical rules by saying, "It is written." Consider that in today's Australia, we all keep saying the government isn't obeying the rules. Trouble is, we are accepting the wooing offers. So when 1971 arrived and no one appeared to accept and inherit their share of the Commonwealth, the existing trust could not be discarded or broken up, but had to be placed in administration. Now, as an example, Prince Charles holds the Duchy of Cornwall. If anyone dies interstate, the money goes to him and he distributes it to charities. The Queen does the same with the Duchy of Lancaster. In Australia, if you die interstate, the government keeps the trust under administration for 7 years. Then it is placed in some government fund. If you have an estate at death, then you must have the start of an estate at birth. And the United Nations and governments heavily push for every person to be registered, so they have government-given rights. How do you get those rights? By registering the child, which then generates an estate and a BC, birth certificate, legal persona, the straw man. The original purpose of the birth certificate was for tax purposes and to lodge numbers for military manpower. Biblically, Jesus was born in Bethlehem because his parents had to return there to be ticked off in a census. So another duplication, because God records a man's name in the book of life, while government recorded in the book of death. Remember, a title is not alive. Quote, "It's a small paper, but it actually establishes who you are and gives access to the rights and the privileges and the obligations of citizenship." Quote, "So a man is born living, and a piece of paper give him the title of a citizen." Definition of citizen: a legally recognized subject or national of a state or commonwealth, either native or naturalized. And what recognizes them as a citizen? The government. How? Through a certificate. Absolutely nothing of life in that combination, all on paper. Consequently, it is not hard to understand that whichever jurisdiction you register into becomes your domestic state and protects your estate in a trust. Given that the High Court have indicated that every child born in this country is of the Commonwealth, then that trust is of the Commonwealth. But if you don't accept it, your estate in it remains in administration. Now, part of a trustee's responsibility is to protect the trust, so it is heavily insured by the administrative government in the case of harm. Hence the heavy growth of codes, rules, regulations, all built around the possible harm to the trust. Occupational health and safety, duty of care, workplace health and safety, etc. In insurance terms, when there is an accident, government has legislated strict rules that assist the insurance company in deciding where the fault lies. In the workplace, employees are constantly trained to rules and regulations, which ensure that when an incident occurs, the fault can be found and fixed, and the relevant person punished. Kill someone on the road accidentally, road conditions don't apply unless extraordinary, because the driver must drive to the conditions and always be in control of the machine. So the driver bears the fault for the accident. Get the picture? The administered trust is always protected first, and because you haven't lawfully accepted that the energy feeding the trust is yours, and you act under the assumed strawman title, then you come around second. In fact, you become the problem. Because you are often the one harming the trust through lifestyle choices, so you need to be controlled. The intent of the reversion is to restore the rightful order. You accept that you are the living man with all inherent rights of superior free will. You accept your inheritance in the Commonwealth and remove the assumption that the Commonwealth is abandoned. As the executor of the live estate, you remove all your energy from the BC estate and place it back in your live estate. You then assign the interest generated by your energy to the Commonwealth, thereby acting on behalf of your fellow men and women, assisting in building the assets of the Commonwealth and reinstating the Commonwealth protection as provided by the Crown of the Constitution. You appoint the Governor General as the trustee of that assignment. In the process, you revert all contracts, agreements, and etc. back to the Commonwealth for the past, present, and future obligations. And while those may still exist to be finalised, the Australian government and its subsidiaries can no longer treat you as the usufruct because you have lawfully claimed your rightful inheritance. Now, if you are in receipt of a pension or such, nothing appears to change. Remember, the Australian government operates in administration of the Commonwealth. So if the Commonwealth has approved your pension, then as a Commonwealth national, the Australian government is not in a position to remove it. If you wish to continue generating energy, it appears that you can continue using the strawman title, because the energy you generate must go through the title estate and be reverted back to the living estate, which is then protected by the Commonwealth as the beneficiary. Consider this: we are aware that the birth certificate trust is insured heavily for any harm done to it in administration. So, when you require medical care and receive it for free, the insurance probably pays for it. Go to court, have a small fine, yet the case itself and the court officers would have cost a lot more. Probably a claim for costs has been sent to the insurance cover. Send your child to public school and most of the costs are covered by an insurance cover. The insurance company must then chase recovery of the payout, which we believe then becomes a claim against the BC estate. While the estate's interest is in the hands of the administration, it is very possible that expenses are inflated. However, after the reversion, it appears that the company has to apply to the Commonwealth for recovery, which means the estate can't be overcharged or rated. In essence, at every stage, you pay for anything you require or are given. So even people on pensions benefit either the BC estate or the living estate because they still operate in commerce. Consequently, it appears that to continue using the strawman as the commercial legal title generates interest for the Commonwealth rather than the administration. Now that makes sense if you consider that almost every piece of legislation, which is not law but rules, work to govern and control human activities, and the clear point of governing human activities is to ensure someone does not get hurt, and if they do, those costs are covered and blame laid. Just because you become the executor of your living estate and can provide benefits to the Commonwealth does not mean the BC estate disappears. You can't collapse it because it is not yours. To recap then, the Commonwealth holds the trust responsibility for all the estates generated through the birth certificates. Those estates have no heirs and successors as of 1972. Therefore, they are interstate and go into administration. The Commonwealth appoints administrators and insurance responsibilities to protect those estates. The administrators punish any person who acts to harm the estate or uses an estate without permission, causing an insurance claim. The administrators protect the wealth generated into each interstate estate. I have heard many people state they take control over the BC. I do not believe that is possible, but research indicates that you can take control over what you put in the BC estate, but not the estate itself. Why? Because the BC estate doesn't belong to you, and to claim to seize and control it makes you no different from the situation we're all trying to escape. What then can you also control? Is the energy in the living estate, and where the interest in the living estate goes in order to benefit others. Other people state they want to keep the interest for themselves. You can't, folks. It is generated commercially by your energy, but can only benefit you through its use into the community, the assets of the Commonwealth, or whichever governance you choose to benefit. Many people believe there is massive wealth in the BC estate they can access. I don't believe that either. It appears that you, as you grow, learn, build your personal wealth, extend your family, build houses, and etc., are reassessed for the purpose of insurance premiums. A person on a low income with no family might have a reasonable policy, but a person who has a greater portfolio would have a much bigger policy. Consequently, on their death, the payout to the government would be of an equivalent size. You have no right to that payout, as you don't pay the premiums. Consider dead peasants insurance, wherein companies insure their staff. The staffer dies, the company gets a payout, not the family who paid nothing into the policy. No harm can come from this reversion because you are acting in charity to your country. You are generating wealth that your country benefits from. You are acting as a mature adult. You assume the responsibility of your inheritance in the Commonwealth of Australia. You have the constitutional right and obligation to restore your energy and be the executor of your own estate. You remind your family to act in the same way, manner, and claim their inheritance at the age of maturity. I started this part by referring to the three foundational precepts of the reversion. 1. Living in peace. 2. Giving back what isn't yours. 3. Charity to your fellow man. As a mature adult acting in executorial authority over your live estate, you are able to find and live in peace. You are taking authority over what is yours and benefiting others with the interest your energy generates. You are no longer being pirated because you are no longer using what you did not clearly have ownership over. You are acting to assist your fellow man and will be blessed by it. If you do not make changes or amendments or additions, remember this. Do not add things from another jurisdiction. It will confuse your document, establish you are double-minded and or confused, and possibly negate it. Remain in your chosen jurisdiction. Also remember, you are not a legal person. You are a living man or woman. So speak in ordinary words. Do not pretend to be what you are not, or you might be forced to prove your words. In your reversion, use the full word, please. Do not use abbreviations, all caps, and etc., unless they are used in legal documents you are referencing. What are you doing? A. Accepting the role of the executor. Clearly, the first vital step is to take on role of the holder of the office of the executor of your estate. The government recognizes that you have private law authority, and as it is an aspect of international law that they rely on for their contracts with you. Why? Because you are a man or woman of the natural law. Jurisdiction and you have claim on the common law. Jurisdiction of the Commonwealth of Australia. While the Australian government operates in admiralty law jurisdiction, wherein you are not alive. Private law is the term signifying the conflict of jurisdictions. So the reversion operates through the private law to restore you to the constitutional jurisdiction in common law. In simple terms, you are using your natural law inherent right of free will. Therefore, you can't be stopped from becoming the executor of your estate, because government only holds that executorial role in an assumption, and as you will rebut that, are no longer lost at sea and will claim what is yours by inheritance, which is the rights inherent in your private decision-making process. Government must not prevent or harm you in processing that claim. You have moved into the age of maturity and are completing the acceptance of your inheritance of the public estate created for you by the lawful Commonwealth of Australia realm. In so doing, you are confirming you are the one of the people of the Commonwealth of Australia, as proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901. Confirming you are one of the people of an original state. Closing down all assumed citizenship contracts with the Australian government and its subsidiary quangos and contractors. Cancelling all contracts you unknowingly hold in the commercial jurisdiction of the Australian government and its quangos and subsidiary contractors. Gifting the Commonwealth of Australia proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901 as the beneficiary of the interest in your estate. Most importantly, removing your estate from the private administrative controls of the Australian government and its quangos and subsidiary contractors, and placing it back into the public domain for the benefit of the people of the Commonwealth of Australia, as proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901. B. Remaining in peace. All our reversion documents referenced our faith and the reasons why we reverted the interest in our estate back to the Commonwealth as their heir to the Commonwealth of Israel, given that neither the Commonwealth of Australia or the Australian government can control a faith, which is not a religion. Then holding to biblical principles adds a very powerful layer of protection, because the Commonwealth itself sits on a foundation which recognizes religious principles at section 116. The Commonwealth shall not make any law for establishing any religion, or for imposing any religious observances, for prohibiting the free exercise of any religion, and no religious test shall be required as a qualification for any office or public trust under the Commonwealth. If that is not something you are comfortable with or adhere to, a civil reversion will still have effect, but if you wish to use faith statements in your revision, do so. You will read in I Am Some Dude that the premise of the reversion is 3 verses. Matthew 22:21. Then saith he unto them, Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. Mark 10:21. Go and sell all your possessions and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me. Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacekeepers, for they will be called the sons of God. Regardless of your personal opinion, these are the keys to the reversion that are foundations of the private action you are making, and neither the Commonwealth of Australia proclaimed and gazetted and/or the Australian government can refuse or control that decision. 1. Peace. 2. Giving back what isn't yours. 3. Charity to your fellow man. You must understand that you need to act in the future in peace. The act of going to war is about restoring peace. Sounds crazy, but that is the fact. Someone acts in belligerence, someone else goes to war against them to restore peace. So the administration can use as much force as it requires to restore you to peace. In war, there is always a peaceful side and a belligerent side. If you are the peaceful side, then the other side must work twice as hard to not appear belligerent. And in the courts, the system must respect a peaceful man, because if they don't, they bring the aggression into the courtroom, which makes them belligerent. It has become clear that the administration must act within its legal legislative guidelines. So an aggression against a peaceful man can be documented by the Ombudsman as the access to the Commonwealth and can be detrimental for the administration and its quangos. When we use the strawman title without permission, we are acting belligerently. Consequently, correcting that through the reversion creates a peace document that refuses the entire structure and places the living man and woman back under the protection of the de jure Commonwealth. You may not choose to use biblical references, but do not make your documents legal. They must be the words of an ordinary man making adult decisions. If you and I pretend to be lawyers using law threats and admonitions, running belligerent legal cases, we might be called on to prove them. You are much safer speaking and acting as a natural man and woman. This is your document, not someone else's. But remember, all law is bound to biblical principles, whether on the good side or the bad, despite belief or non-belief, and both the Commonwealth and the Australian government know that. C. Allocating the interest in your estate. You all comprehend that in common law, with a physical estate consisting of land and chattels, you can personally make the choice to whom you benefit those elements, and the court must uphold that. Same deal in this reversion. You are allocating the interest in the estate that you specifically generate by virtue of being commercially active in our country. That interest will always go to a governing body. A good example is the monies you place in a bank. If that generates interest as an income, you are taxed on that interest. In a like manner, the interest you generate through commerce is also taxed, with the tax going to the governing body. For example, the GST taxes the commerce you enter into. The money leaves your hand and travels to another, and on it goes. Your only ability to get any back is to register that you are a commercial business and need those funds to continue your business. And who do you ask for that refund? Government. Our census reminds us how powerful our energy is, because when an area grows and expands due directly to the energetic involvement of men and women who wish to work there, build there, raise families there, etc., the government is required to build the necessary infrastructure, increasing the asset base of the community and a consequent personal increase in the value of the area for private buyers. So the reversion simply defines which governing body benefits from the interest your energy generates. Currently, all that interest is benefiting the non-constitutional body administering in governance, the Australian government and its quangos and subsidiaries, at a great cost to the people and the Commonwealth, all because we have not fulfilled our obligations and the Commonwealth trusts are being administered as abandoned interstate. You may vote for the Australian government, but you have no authority in its structure and corporate management. You just get to choose the board of directors because remember, you are a usufruct and harmful to the estate. In recovering that interest and reverting it back to the Commonwealth, you are replacing it back in the hands of the lawful Commonwealth of Australia, which then holds a charitable trust and must protect both the people and your public estate. There has not been an election for the de jure Commonwealth since 1972, but a populated Commonwealth can and should demand restoration of that body, because in it, you have all authority in its structure and constitutional management. In it, your voice is heard and has creative power and authority. In true effect, the reversion of the interest in your estate does this. 1. Peace. You are no longer in a conflicting battle with a foreign body and its laws. 2. Giving back what isn't yours. You are clarifying what belongs to the Commonwealth, the interest, and what belongs to the Australian government, nothing. You are no longer a usufruct. 3. Charity. You are benefiting your fellow man. D. Accept responsibility for the error. You did not claim your estate when you came of age. The Commonwealth have acted to protect it. The Australian government acted in the appearance of protecting it. You appeared to be pirating it through unauthorized use. Accept the responsibility for your error with a simple apology. Remain in peace and act in all future maturity and wisdom as the holder of the office of the executor of your estate. Step 1. What you need to have to hand. You will need a copy of the following: our form of information of birth, the birth certificate. Some people have more than one, get them all if you can. Any change of name certificate, such as a marriage certificate, adoption certificate, etc. You need to have several $1 international stamps, meaning Australian stamps for international mail, red ink stamp pad, blue pen, package foolscap envelopes, manila is strong and cheap, as many post office registration stickers as you need. They come in domestic and international, so buy what you need before starting. You will get the form of information of birth from the Births, Deaths and Marriages Registry, and it should cost you the same as the birth certificate. You will have to emphasize that you do not want a birth certificate, but the form your parents filled in and signed by hand to register your birth. You may be told it does not exist, so that is not true unless you come from a foreign country with poor records or were not registered. But in that case, your BC would be fraudulent because it had to be created by some documentation from your parents. Ask them then to provide the information they used to establish the BC is valid. In many ways, this document is a deed to you, so it has to exist, or legally you don't. The one thing we do know is that the administration keeps all records and the signed FIB in some form is essential or the BC has no foundation. If impossible, try the following. Contact your birth hospital. Ask for the hospital record of birth. They have to have something. Document any dramas that might be involved. Ask your mother to fill out a proof of life document. Have it witnessed by someone who was present at the birth in some capacity. Father, nurse, doctor, or 3 witnesses who have known you and your mother all your life. Check with genealogy researchers. They may have some info to help you if you are foreign. Remember, if you have more than one name, document, or birth certificate in different names or such like, get a copy of them all. Imperatives. Keep all receipts. Keep contemporaneous notes. Document anything that is said or done by BDM or any other relevant body within less than 24 hours of it being said or done and initial the note. Any legal document going to the Commonwealth must be mailed under registration. In fact, it is very wise to send any and all legal documentation going anywhere for any reason by registered post. Step 2. Documentation you will need to prepare for your reversion. Some of the procedures I am documenting may seem over the top. but they are all designed to protect the document from any attempt to ignore them. So how we prepare the documents increases their protection. For example, it is not unknown for the recipient to state they did not receive the document. So how we mail it prevents that. Judges have been known to turn over a document, look at the blank page and state they can't see anything. Hence, how we prepare the back pages of each document. Other people may say pages were missing or they didn't get some element. Hence the numbered pages, the registration number on each document and the mailing documents. So you are creating the following. You can do these in any order. 1. Your acceptance of the role of executor of the estate. 2. Appointment of a trustee. 3. An oath/affirmation to the constitutional crown. 4. Your reversionary document. 5. The form of birth information authorization. 6. The birth certificate authorization. 7. The individual mailing certificate. 8. The third-party mailing certificate. You are preparing the front and back pages as follows. Prepare the front page of your document. Insert a header. In the header write Registered Post Article. The registered number will go there. The date in full words. Example, 1st of May in the year of our Lord 2022 AD. Close the header. Insert page numbering at the bottom of each page. Scroll down to page 1 of 1. Enter that. Close the footer. This automatically documents your page numbers. Page 1 of 10, page 2 of 10, page 3 of 10, and etc. Prepare the last page of your document. 1. Have all the necessary titles and addresses you are sending these document sets to. 2. For each set of letters, print out one page with the relevant title and address on the left-hand top side. A. Note that a list of what goes where and to whom is found in the section on who you mail to. They don't all get everything. 3. On the same document, for each set of letters, photocopy the post office registered sticker on the bottom right side. So to prepare the back of each completed peace and reversion document, you will have already one sheet of paper with the relevant title and address on the top left-hand side and the relevant registration sticker photocopied on the bottom right-hand. As each document is page numbered with the total of pages, it is the last page that is visible and needs to be completed. So it is not necessary to do this on every back page, just the last back page. The importance of this is you are sending a completed document with nothing left empty on the last page, and each package is linked to the registration for mailing as protection. Step 3. Create a letterhead for your executive office. In creating the letterhead, what you're establishing is that while you have a given name, not a title, you abide on the earth, not a commercial residence, but you occupy the role of the office of the executor. The office has a postal designation. We're going to use this as an example. Robert John Smith, 56 Nowhere Road, Somewhere Town, New South Wales, 1234. The name his parents gave him was Robert John. The title the state conferred upon him is Smith. Robert John or variations thereof. It has been identified that those titles and the multiple variations of them are copyrighted. So your use of them without a license is a breach of their copyright, and you are also acting as a usufruct. The birth certificate identifies the title as Robert John Smith. His parents gave him the name Robert John. Understanding the importance of a name. Biblically, a name is not a label or a distinguishing tool. It is viewed as the equivalent of the person himself. The name signifying their worth, character, reputation, authority, will, and ownership. Speaking and writing in the name signifies authority. Naming something indicates ownership of that something or somebody. Acting in someone's name is to represent them. Blotting out someone's name is to destroy them. In several sections of the Bible, the people are referred to as onoma, which translates as names and vice versa as people. So to be living is to have a name, and a man is referred to biblically by the phrase, I am called by the name of ... Notice the use of the word called, being a verbal creative word, so to use it verbally is to consistently establish its meaning. Why are we supposed to use one word for our name? God has one personal name. I am Jehovah, that is my name. So as a living man, your name is one word. Hence we write the living man name as Robert lowercase John. As well, a man or woman is from the house of. Judge Anna refuted the use of the word house because she felt it was a building. That is incorrect. Biblically, a house, as referred to in this manner, is a covering. The Australian government requires a commercial address to establish their jurisdiction and commercial control over the legal title. You want a private location to establish your natural law jurisdiction. And you want a post office collection location, not a box, for your executor's office. A postal box is always commercial. Note the names and their use. Robert John Smith's commercial address, 56 Nowhere Road, Somewhere Town, whatever state 1234. Mail addressed commercially gets delivered and identifies that you trade in the Australian government jurisdiction. Robert John of the House of Smith's place of sojourn, C/poste restante. At the post office address. Poste restante, mail must be picked up from the post office and indicates that you have no fixed residence but simply sojourn in an area for an unknown length of time. You are supposed to provide proof of identity to collect mail. Robert John Executor, executorial office location, which is what you'll need to create. It is actually a location, not an address. It is a postal location. The postal location on the letters puts you in the commercial realm and out of the Australian government. Commercial zone. Being located at the General Post Office makes you non-resident and non-commercial. Mail sent to a location is collected from the post office. 1. Name, estate. Robert John Smith Estate. 2. Office, Executor Office. 3. Nation, your state, nation, New South Wales. 4. Post Office, General Post Office. 5. Location, Nowhere Road, -56. 6. Any town name province, Somewhere Town, Smith Province. 7. Country, Australasia. 8. Postcode near 1234-9998. Note, my research shows that the lawful Commonwealth is our domestic jurisdiction, so I decided to not include that. Plus it touches on the UCC, Universal Commercial Code, and it is not safe to mix jurisdictions, so I don't use that term. Where we refer to postcode, near indicates close to, while the 9998 signifies that it is private. So the office location is Robert John Smith, Estate, Executor Office, full stop, Nation, New South Wales, full stop, General Post Office, full stop, Nowhere Road 56, full stop, Somewhere Town, Smith Province, Australasia, near 1234-9998. Remember that you, the living man, live in your skin and sojourn on the land. It is only the estate executor that requires communication, so needs a location. You, the living man in your skin as a sojourner, the live birth estate, location, the birth estate, address. Now you have your letterhead. Key point, never refer to the legal estate as your estate. That implies ownership and you do not own that estate. David Clarence also recommends not using the word the either. It is safest to refer to the legal estate as Robert John Smith, estate, and you are executor of Smith, Robert John Estate, full stop. Step 4. Writing your letter of acceptance of the role of the holder of the office of the executor. Using your letterhead, do not just copy the following, it is simply the points you need to say in your own words. I was given the right of private decision from the moment of my creation in the womb. I was given the right of free will from the moment of my creation in the womb. I was lost at sea and have been found and returned to dry land. I understand that Smith Robert John Estate has been under an assumed trusteeship in my absence. I understand that it holds one share given to me at the registration of my birth event by the Commonwealth of Australia. I did not abandon that estate. I am now of the age of maturity and claim that estate. I accept the role of the occupant/holder of the office of the executor of the Smith Robert John Estate, semicolon. I hereby pronounce, claim and occupy that office. Any person, entity, officer, ship's captain, principal, custodian, protector, steward, keeper, guardian, lawyers, attorneys, use a thesaurus here and add as many terms as you feel relevant, under any title or derivation of such titles, do not have our lawful recognition to continue in those roles on our behalf. I declare their acts null and void. I disavow any filial claim of the state over me for the first time. I disavow any filial claim over the state over me for the second time. I disavow any filial claim over the state over me for the third time. Yours faithfully, or whatever expression you wish to use. Do not place on the left-hand side of the letter. Keep to the right. By Robert-John, executor full stop. Handwritten in blue. Non-full stop. Nothing can be added after a full stop. Also on the right-hand side as the creditor. Using the red stamp pad, stamp your thumbprint across your handwritten name. Try to catch the yours faithfully to lock the seal to the letter itself. So to recap, yours faithfully by Robert-John executor dot. Red thumbprint over the signature catching the yours faithfully dot. This links the authority and the thumbprint to the yours faithfully sentence, effectively binding the authorization so it can't be misused. Staple it if more than one page. A stapled document is whole and complete. Paper clips and legal ribbons are used on unfinished documents. Step 5. Writing your appointment of a trustee for the estate in reversion. Using your letterhead. Do not copy the following, it is simply the points you need to say in your own words. From the office of the executor of the Smith Robert John estate to the holder of the office of the Governor General of the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901, being the representative of the head of state, the Queen for the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901, S2, S61. You, Governor General's name, hold the legislative power of the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901 as the Queen's representative, S1. You, GG's name, exercise the executive power of the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901 as the Queen's representative, S61. I, Robert-John, therefore appoint you as the fiduciary trustee of the Smith Robert John estate in reversion to the Commonwealth of Australia as created through the Commonwealth of Australia Act 63 and 63 Victoria, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901. Yours faithfully, or whatever expression you wish to use. Do not place on the left hand and side of the letter, keep to the right as you are the creditor. By Robert-John executor full stop. Handwritten in blue, note full stop. Nothing can be added after a full stop. Also on the right hand side. Using the red stamp pad, stamp your thumbprint across the handwritten name. Try to catch yours faithfully to lock the seal to the letter itself. So to recap, yours faithfully by Robert-John executor full stop. Red thumbprint over the signature catching yours faithfully. Staple it if more than one page. Step 6. Witnessed oath/affirmation. With regard my earlier comments on the power of the spoken word, I believe that it is wise to make the verbal statement in front of a witness, preferably a justice of the peace, that you accept the inheritance of lawful heir to be a member of the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January, through your acceptance of allegiance to the lawful heir and successor to the sovereignty to the United Kingdom, as stated in covering Clause 2. To do that, create a document as follows. Constitution of the Commonwealth of Australia, 63 and 64 Victoria, Schedule. It is your choice whether you use the oath of the affirmation, but print your choice in your document. Oath. I, Robert John of the family of Smith, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors according to law, so help me God. Or, affirmation. I, Robert John of the family of Smith, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors according to law. Below that add, I am a living man born into the inheritance of the people of the original state of New South Wales, and I accept my responsibilities and obligations in that inheritance to the Commonwealth of Australia, established by the will of the people as documented in the preamble to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901, and as indissoluble, trusting in the Crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland and humbly relying on the blessing of Almighty God. Then add, This oath was spoken out and signed before the following witness. Witness details, witness signature. Use a justice of the peace as your witness. Keep this document with all your legal paperwork and send out only copies. In the event your witness might want proof that you are qualified to do this, you may want to take a copy of the FIB and BC documents to establish you were birthed into the original state you are claiming your inheritance through. Staple it if more than one page. Step 7. Your peace and reversion document. Prepare the last page of your document first. 1. Have all the necessary titles and addresses you are sending these documents to. 2. For each set of all letters, print out one page with the relevant title on the left-hand top side. A. Referring to who gets a copy first. 3. On the same document, for each set of letters, photocopy the post office registered sticker on the bottom right side. So to prepare the back of each peace and reversion document, you will have ready one sheet of paper with the relevant title and address on the top left-hand side and the relevant registration sticker photocopied on the bottom right-hand. Prepare the front page of your first document first. Insert a header on your page tops. In the header write, Registered Post Article. The registered number will go in that. The date in full words, example, 1st of May in the year of our Lord, 2022 AD. Close the header. Insert page numbering at the bottom of each page. Scroll down to page 1 of 1, and to that, close the footer. This automatically documents your page numbers, example, page 1 of 10, page 2 of 10, page 3 of 10, etc. The importance of this is you are sending a completed document with nothing left empty, and each package is linked to the registration for mailing as protection. Very important. In all the following document, if the words you are writing come from the certificates you are including, use exactly the same wording, the full stops, capitals, and lowercase as is on the included documents. Do not use abbreviations unless there is an abbreviation on the document. Do not make up your own titles and indicate they are on any legal document. You are writing lawful documents. Make them as accurate as you can. If in doubt, state that doubt and tell them in your own words what you are trying to say, or include a dictionary meaning of the word you are uncertain of, or if it has several meanings and you want to only use one. This site lists words in their original meaning. We are talking in our words, not their legal interpretations which are designed to deceive. So use the real meaning if necessary. http://1828.mshaffer.com. My personal thought is that because we are writing as non-legal men and women, we should not pretend to be legal entities by using legal expressions and terminology, and offer no threats whatsoever. Your peace and reversion document. We did not use our executorial letterhead for our reversionary document. Sam and I had not claimed our executorial status or appointed the trustee at that time. We created the reversionary documents and it still worked with the post restante address and the relevant name. However, the logical order is to create a process. So this document you are reading sets things out in that order by claiming the office, appointing the trustee, then presenting the reversion. Consequently, you would use the executor's office location. You may choose to make two documents, a peace document, a reversionary document. You may therefore create the peace document without the executor's letterhead and the reversion with the executor's letterhead. Your choice entirely. I chose to make one document indicating we are offering our reversionary interest in peace. Always use proper English layout. Keep your details to the right of the page. Keep your salutation and signature to the right of the page. You, as a living man or woman, are in the right. Choose the title of your document. Some people choose to call it a treaty, but a treaty consists of offer and acceptance and so can be refused. Some people use the word gift, but a gift is a final situation and may not allow for amendments at a later date. We chose to create a declaration, which is still a statement and as such is immediately of effect. This will be the hardest document to create as you are including who you are to establish your hold the authority, that you are accepting the Commonwealth inheritance, what you are doing with it, what you ask in return, why are you doing it, who you are, Do not copy the following. It is simply a guideline of what you need to say in your own words. And note, the expressions used are biblical. Identify yourself. Robert Paul of the House of Smith. I am told I was born from my mother's womb at. Do not claim anything you cannot prove or is hearsay. If you are married, document that. Details. You may also include all the info on that doc, or simply provide the date and address of that event. Your choice, whatever you include. For a woman, this documents a legal title change, so must be documented, but a copy of the document doesn't have to be included. If you are adopted and have the relevant info, document it. If you have had a legal name change for some reason, document that info. If you have children, document them. Example, my seed was created as flesh in my children, who were birthed from the body of the woman I was joined with in marriage. Or, my body bore children of flesh, created from their father's seed. They are, first names only, who was birthed on the date. If you have a faith, document that. Baptized, confirmed, born again, etc. Accept your Commonwealth inheritance. Do not copy the following. It is simply a guideline of what you need to say, but you must be exact when referring back to legal documents. I am of the people of the original state of ... Reference preamble covering clause section 6. You need to put your relevant state. I am an heir to the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901. I accept my inheritance and spoke the following oath/affirmation before a justice of the peace. Witness document attached. I have a copy of a document called Form of Information of Birth. Identify details, but use the all caps or capital letters exactly as printed, which I received by hand or mail or whatever from. I paid ... It carries handwritten or typed, whichever is relevant, words stating ... The name on that document that was written as given to the child being recorded is ... It refers to ... It is hand signed by ... Written on the back is ... In other words, describe the document to make sure the document you discuss and the document you include as part of the package are accepted as the same. Do the same with the birth certificate. Do the same with any other identifying document you are referencing, but without the larger details: title, date, authority, or church. Correcting the error of past use. I am aware my mother and father used the BC to ... At a later date, I used the BC for ... I was not aware that it was not the name I was given by my parents, but ... The title attached to the BC was the one I accepted and used in error. I am now aware of that. I sincerely apologize for the error. What you are doing. Do not copy the following. It is simply a guideline of what you need to say, but you must be exact when referring back to legal documents. As a result of this new knowledge, I am sending the record of information of birth and the birth certificate, whichever format is relevant to your documents, and always use the same printing as on the actual docs, back to the Commonwealth of Australia, as created by the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901. I am sending the same declaration of peace and reversion to the heir and successors of the sovereignty of the United Kingdom, held in 1901 by Queen Victoria. I have declared my oath of allegiance as clearly defined in the attached documentation to the current holder of the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. This declaration and its contents is to be used for the purposes of restoration, betterment, security, prosperity, enrichment, and peace of the Commonwealth of Australia, as created by and defined in the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901. Why you are doing it. Do not copy the following. It is simply a guideline of what you need to say, but you must be exact when referring back to legal documents. I am assigning the past, present, and future interest in those documents to the ... in order to assist in ... Being of the age of majority, this is my will. You are then asking for, and you should, research what these requests mean, because you are also responsible for assisting the Crown in this area. Innocent passage. the security of person as a peaceful inhabitant of this land, safe harbor, the quiet enjoyment of my life. I ask to remain neutral and in peace. I further request that the blessing of this reversion be used to create only good for the people of the Commonwealth, that no harm shall arise from it or be created by it against any living man or woman, today or in the future. Your final statement, and please add to it where necessary, using your own words, of my free will. I'm providing the form of information of birth back to the Commonwealth of Australia as established under the Crown of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland and under the Constitution Act of the Commonwealth of Australia, Section 63-64, Victoria, Chapter 12, and which was proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901, to establish the Commonwealth of Australia into law. Of my free will, I am providing the BC back to the Commonwealth of Australia as established under the Crown of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland and the Constitution Act of the Commonwealth of Australia, Section 63 and 64, Victoria, Chapter 12, and which was proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901, to establish the Commonwealth of Australia into law. I authorize all commercial and financial actions attached to or emanating from the BC in any capacity shall be collected. All such that are collected will then be placed into the estate of Robert-John of the House of Brown. Note, you are taking all the energy you have created that has been lodged in the private administered estate of a foreign body, and the resulting interest was used by that administration. You are then restoring that energy to your living estate and providing the resulting interest to the public trust of the Commonwealth of Australia for its benefit. I authorize that all futures be collected, seized, and obliterated. I will not be surety for them from this day forward. I authorize that the entire total of all financial instruments, securities, and existing futures, and etc., be collected into my estate, and the interest be signed over to the Treasury of the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901, for and on behalf of the people of the nation. The interest may be used as the Commonwealth sees fit, but only to continue to govern within their constitutional instructions in peace, order, and good government. At no times may the use of that interest be used to harm any other man, woman, or child, now or in the future. I shall retain quiet enjoyment of property as the secured party. Can you see that in every section you are covering the past, present, and future in both the past actions, the current intent, and the future plans? Add any other comments, verses, etc. you wish to add because this is your document, your reversion, and your peace declaration. Make it yours, but remember to keep to your chosen jurisdiction. Salutation if you are writing as the living man. Yours faithfully, or whatever expression you wish to use. Keep all this to the right as per all the letters dealing with reversion. Robert John, handwritten in blue. Get the red stamp pad, stamp your thumbprint over the name so it touches the yours faithfully as well. That being the name you were given and the name of your private trust. Salutation if you are writing as the executor. Yours faithfully, or whatever expression you wish to use. Keep all this to the right as per all the letters dealing with reversion. By, Robert-John, executor, handwritten in blue. Get the red stamp pad, stamp your thumbprint over the name so it touches the yours faithfully as well. That ties your signature and seal to the documents. Now, at the bottom of your P/reversion document, under the signature, you will write the following. Attachments, copies of. The form of information of birth of Robert John, surname Smith, 1 double-sided page. The birth certificate of Robert John Smith, 1 double-sided page. The witness oath of allegiance of Robert John, 1-sided page. Staple it if more than 1 page. Step 8. Authorize the birth certificate and the form of information of birth. 1. Keep the original untouched. 2. Photocopy these 2 documents as clearly as possible and in color. 3. Photocopy both sides on 1 sheet of the paper using a blue pen at the top of the front of each document. Print in proper case but not all caps A. Accepted for honor. 5. Using a blue pen in the middle of the back of each document. Print in proper case but not all caps A. Pay to the order of the Treasury of the Commonwealth of Australia. 6. On the back page, on the right back corner, stick an international mailing stamp. 7. Using a blue pen diagonally across the stamp and touching the white paper around the stamp, write A. Robert-John. B. Without recourse. 8. This cancels the stamp. 9. Photocopy the completed document only on one sheet of paper. 10. Store the original and authorized document safely. So that is the reversionary process and package details. You have completed the following. 1. Gather what you need. 2. Prepared the front and back page of each document. 3. Created a letterhead for the executor. 4. Written your letter of acceptance. 5. Written the trustee's appointment letter. 6. Written your oath and had it witnessed. 7. Written your peace and reversion document. 8. Authorize your BC and LFI. Now we focus on the postal details. Part 3. Step 9. Preparing the contents of each package. They are all going to entities, office holders. Do not send this to the Australian government or any entity going by the title Minister of ... Australia. You are sending every package to a Minister of the Commonwealth of Australia. You will not find them online, but they are definitely in office. So I titled my mailing details to anyone relevant as ... the holder of the office of the ... for the Commonwealth of Australia. The reason you refer to the as holder of the office is because the office remains the holder by name, does not? If you send your documents to the person by name and they leave, your documents may be ignored by a new holder of the office. Sending them to the holder of the office means they must stay with the office. Consider this. If you just send the letter to the current holder of that office, it could be deemed that it is intended just for them. So I would consider including an extra identification in the addressee of the recipient of the letter. Example, the Governor General, holder of the office of Governor General of the Commonwealth of Australia, and all future holders of this office or any with the same responsibilities. Attention, His Excellency General, the Honourable Sir Peter Cosgrove, AKMC, Government House, Dun Russell Drive, Yarralumbla, ACT 2600. You don't have to mail it including this extra line, just include it in the document itself. At this point, it is important to realize that you are not sending every document to every recipient. Some are just being FYI'd. Most will receive a photocopy of the Governor General's documents. Domestic Mail 1. Governor General of the Commonwealth of Australia. He gets the whole package of 4 documents and the 3 attachments, all addressed to him as the holder, etc. 1. An individual post office mailing certificate addressed. 2. The acceptance of the office of executor. 3. The appointment of the trustee of the estate. 4. The peace and reversionary document. 5. The form of information of birth. 6. The birth certificate. 7. The witnessed oath of allegiance. Domestic Mail 2. The Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Australia. He gets a copy of 2 Governor General documents, 2 documents addressed to him and 3 certificates. 1. An individual post office mailing certificate addressed to him. 2. A copy of the Governor General's acceptance of the office of executor. 3. A copy of the Governor General's appointment of the trustee of the estate. 4. The peace and reversionary document. 5. The form of information of birth. 6. The birth certificate. 7. The witnessed oath of allegiance. Domestic Mail 3. The Treasury of the Commonwealth of Australia, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Australia, the Chief Justice of the High Court of the Commonwealth of Australia. They get a copy of the 3 Governor General letters, 1 certificate and 1 doc addressed to them. 1. An individual post office mailing certificate. 2. A copy of the Governor General's acceptance of the office of executor. 3. A copy of the Governor General appointment of the trustee of the estate. 4. A copy of the Governor General peace and revisionary document. 5. The witness oath of allegiance. Domestic Mail 4, if desired. Anyone else in the Commonwealth gets a document addressed to them, a copy of 1 Governor General document, 1 certificate. 1. An individual post office mailing certificate. 2. A copy of the Governor General peace and reversionary document. 3. The witnessed oath of allegiance. International Mail 1. If you wish to notify the Queen, which I recommend, you send the following. She gets 2 documents addressed to her, 2 copies of the Governor General documents, 2 certificates. 1. Individual Post Office Mailing Certificate. 2. A copy of the Governor General's acceptance of the office of Executor. 3. A copy of the Governor General's appointment of the trustee of the estate. 4. An individual peace and reversionary document. 5. The form of information of birth. 6. The birth certificate. 7. The witnessed oath of allegiance. International Mail 2. If you wish to notify any other international persona, you send the following. 1 document addressed to them, a copy of the Governor General document, 1 certificate. 1. An individual post office mailing certificate. 2. A copy of the Governor General peace and reversionary document. 3. The witnessed oath of allegiance. The purpose of the international packages is to inform those bodies that the Commonwealth is being repopulated. Your choice whether or not to do that. Those are your 4 sets of packages. Domestic, important. Domestic if you feel to send. International, Queen, important. International if you feel to send. Step 10. Mailing details of the reversionary package for each recipient. Please do not forget the clerical side of it. That is a vital part of the proof of your reversion. The clerical side involves the International Postal Union as a witness to the documents, in the manner we have worked out. It is your choice who you send this package to. We send it to almost every persona we considered relevant. We also send it to 6 international representatives, including Queen Elizabeth. Again, your choice whether to do that or not. I am aware that a successful result for another reverter did not include the overseas entities at all, just domestic recipients. However, I think it is wise to include the Queen. I have attached a list of those persona I consider have any relevance for you to use, but please double check they are still in office. Make sure the names and addresses are correct. Do not just use my list. Find a post office you can work with. The corner ones are often the most helpful. Have a list of who you are sending to and what they get. Have all your documents ready and set out in the computer files. Print out 1 package of documents for each recipient. Make sure they all have the registration number on each page. Make sure the back page of each completed document is completed as per step 2. I have recommended buying recipient acknowledgement receipts, but it has become clear that the Parliament does not respect this, so make sure that your packages are tracked instead. That puts the onus on the post office to establish each package has arrived. Note, you are not sending the package yet, there is more to be done. Now this is where you need to focus. It takes time and concentration. This clerical stuff is vital to make sure your documentation gets to where it is being sent and to establish it was sent and to establish what was sent. Note, this following information does not apply to the certificates themselves. It only applies to your package of documentation. So each document will be 1. Page numbered, 1 of ... 2. Will have the persona being sent the document detailed on the front and back of the document's first and last pages. 3. Will have the PO registration details numbered on the top of each page and photocopied on the last back page. 4. Will be stapled to establish completion. You will have at least 3 attached documents. 1. The form of information of birth. 2. The birth certificate. 3. The witnessed oath of allegiance. I considered adding the marriage certificate, but as it is a commercial document in which the state is a third party, so it will be included in the reversion anyway. You also have all the necessary envelopes ready to go. Front. 1. The title and address of the recipient. 2. The correct PO numbered mailing stickers. Back. 1. Your executorial mailing address. I have also recommended getting the post office staff to count those docs and put them in the envelope, but that has proven to be something they are now reluctant to help with. So if necessary, take each set and the envelope, put them in the envelope in front of the staff and let them seal the documents. Now we go to the clerical details of the mailing certificates. This document is a VIP proof of mailing, and when some item has been mailed, it is the International Postmaster's obligation to protect that mailing. If your package does not appear to have arrived, for example, it is his job to track it down, as you paid for a registered package and it is a legal requirement of commerce that it be found. So, for each package, you will need an individual mailing certificate for each recipient and a compiled mailing document for your records. The mailing certificate for each package is set out as follows: 1. The header. 2. The footer. 3. The executor's title and address. 4. Date. 5. Comments in the body. 6. Documents the recipient is receiving. 7. The list of other recipients. This has several purposes. It acts as an FYI for the recipient. It informs them what is in the package, so no documents can be accidentally lost. It informs them that others have received the package and it can't be hidden. In the body of certificate, for the information of the current holder of the office of the ... of the Commonwealth of Australia, and all successors to this office and/or its responsibilities under any other title, semicolon. Please find the following presented under postal registration for the benefit of the Commonwealth of Australia, proclaimed and gazetted 1st January 1901. Don't forget, what you include in the list must refer only to the documents that the particular recipient is getting. So each individual mailing certificate will be different. 1. Acceptance of the office of the executor of the Smith Robert John Estate. 2. Appointment of the trustee of the Smith Robert John Estate. 3. Declaration of peace. 4. True copy of the birth certificate of Robert John Smith, 1 double-sided page. 5. True copy of the form of live birth of Robert John, surname Smith, 1 double-sided page. 6. Witnessed oath or affirmation. This package has been sent to the following recipients. List their titles by office, addresses not necessary. Yours faithfully, by, Robert-John Executor, full stop. Red thumbprint over the signature catching yours faithfully. 11. Certificate of registered mailing list, third-party proof of service and contents mailed. This document is essentially your compilation of all the mailing details. 1. What was sent. 2. To whom. 3. With what registration. 4. And what post office signed and stamped acknowledgement of the actual mailing. Get an itemized receipt and photocopy it on the back of your copy. In a legal situation, it is your proof that the packages were sent and accepted. They are set out as follows. 5. The executor's office details at the top. 6. The title of the document. A. The certificate of registered mailing. List third-party proof of service and contents mailed or similar. 7. The body of the mailer as written below. 8. A list of the persona and address details as on the individual mailers. A. Make sure to place the post office registration numbers with each recipient's info. Details. I, Robert John of town or village in the state of wherever, do hereby affirm as being true, correct, complete, and not misleading that on the 10th day of August in the year of our Lord Anno Domini, I cause the following documents. 1. Post office mailing certificate. 2. The acceptance of the office of executor. 3. The appointment of the trustee of the estate. 4. The peace and reversionary document. 5. The form of information of birth. 6. The birth certificate. 7. The witness oath of allegiance. To be served on the parties of interest listed below by placing all or a portion of the said documents into a tracked mailing envelope with the party-specific tracking ID number inscribed on said envelope, which was addressed as follows. List all the titles and addresses you are mailing to. Add to each the relevant details. International mailing, international mail tracking number, or AP tracking number, or whatever the post office calls it now. And then personally cause the envelope to be deposited with the Australia Post Service, postage prepaid and sent via tracked mail. Further, the Australia Post Office Service attendant. 8. Sealed the envelope. 9. Accepted payment for all costs. 10. Provided a receipt. 11. Accepted these sealed envelopes to be. 12. Forwarded to the stated recipients by Australia Post. To finalise this document state, a copy of this document was placed in the hands of the Australia Post Office Service attendant for the safekeeping and reference of the Postmaster General. Signature of Australia Post attendant, print name, Australia Post Office address, date. I then ask the attendant to stamp this information with the post office stamp. The post office gets one copy, I keep the other. That is my legal proof of mailing all the packages. Very important. 12. Who are you mailing the packages to? I have attached the mailing details for the relevant recipients. It is your choice whether you send them to all or a personalized group. There is a consideration that you should send the info to the relevant state ministers for their information. I have spent some time considering that, but as we are providing this as people of the original states to the Commonwealth, the reversion restores the original state's legitimacy as well. So you could consider sending a copy only to the state premier and the state governor. I believe including the current High Court Chief Justice is vital to inform them that the Commonwealth is alive and well in the hands of the people, who are its authority. International. Double check that these people are current. Double check that the addresses are current. Mrs. Elizabeth Mountbatten of the House of Windsor. The Queen Elizabeth AE, Regine AE, 2nd AE, Her Majesty the Queen, Archbishop of Canterbury, holder of the office of Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations, Commonwealth Secretariat, for lodgement with the Commonwealth of Nations, holder of the office of Secretary General of the United Nations, for lodgement with the United Nations, His Holiness Pope Francis PP, holder of the office of the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor, CO Private Secretary and Chief of Staff Mansion House, Domestic Commonwealth. Double check that these people are current. Double check that the addresses are current. Holder of the office of Governor General of the Commonwealth of Australia. Holder of the office of Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Australia. Holder of the office of Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Australia. Holder of the office of Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Australia. Holder of the office of Chief Justice of the High Court of Australia. Holder of the office of Governor of the original state of. Holder of the office of Governor of the original state of. Holder of the office of Premier of the original state of. Holder of the office of Attorney General of the original state of. Holder of the office of Treasurer of the original state of. Holder of the office of the Sheriff of the original state of. Step 13. Housekeeping. So now you have put the entire package together in its correct envelope, pay to have them posted, and they have been posted by the PO attendant who has witnessed that fact. You have documented all the details of each package on your certificate of registered mailing list, third-party proof of service, and contents mailed. You will now go home and photocopy the PO mailing receipt on the back of this certificate. Can you see how we are linking all these documents together and protecting them from loss or non-receipt? These recipients know who was sent the package through their individual mailing certificates, and you have the post office witness that all packages were mailed. I then set up a folder with a copy of each document as sent to the Governor General. I photocopy the whole receipt to the back of these documents, my original certificate of registered mailing. That way, you have proof that the documents that went to the trustee that were also sent in full or part to the other entities, and you have the full mailing certification. File everything, don't lose anything. Part 4. Dictionary. Image, a representation or similitude of any person or thing formed of a material substance. Inscription, something written or engraved to communicate information. Reversio. Hist, the returning of land to the grantor. Reversioner, one who possesses the reversion to an estate, the grantor or heir in reversion. 2. Broadly, one who has a lawful interest in land but not the present possession of it. Grantor, one who conveys property to another. Reversionary interest, a legal share in something or part of a legal or equitable claim to or right in property. Reversion, the interest that is left after subtracting what the transferor has parted with from what the transferor originally had. Example, a future interest in land arising by operation of law whenever an estate owner grants to another a particular estate, such as a life estate or a term of years, but does not dispose of the entire interest. A reversion occurs automatically upon termination of the prior estate, as when a life tenant dies. Transferor, one who conveys an interest in property. Estate. In law, the interest or quantity of interest a man has in lands, tenements, or other effects. Estates are real or personal. Interest. Share, portion, part, participation in value. Executor. one who performs or carries into effect some act, especially on behalf of the estate. Trust. In law, an estate devised or granted in confidence that the devisee or grantee shall convey it, or dispose of the profits, at the will of another, an estate held for the use of another. Trustee, one who stands in a fiduciary or confidential relationship to another, one who, having legal title to property, holds it in trust for the benefit of another and owes a fiduciary duty to that beneficiary. Beneficiary, one who receives anything as a gift or is maintained by charity. The word was used in the Middle Ages for a feudatory or vassal. Usufruct, a right for a certain period to use and enjoy the fruits of another's property without damaging or diminishing it, but allowing for any natural deterioration in the property over time. In modern civil law, the owner of the usufruct is similar to a life tenant, and the owner of the property burden is known as the naked owner or the reversionary interest in Australia. Charitable trust, a trust created to benefit a specific charity, specific charities, or the general public rather than a private individual or entity. Incorporeal, not consisting of matter, not having a material body. Immaterial, spirits are deemed incorporeal substances. Corporeal, having a body consisting of a material body, material opposed to spiritual or immaterial, as our corporeal frame, corporeal substance.